What's growing on? So we are back, day 2 of that food forest install. Yesterday we removed all the grass, moved some of the fruit trees, pretty much all the prep work, and today we're bringing a bunch of plants in. So today I'll be planting the rest of the food forest, and we'll be top dressing that stuff with some of those organic soil amendments we use and some compost. I'm also going to be filling those bricks that we showed you yesterday that go all the way around those raised beds here in the backyard. Those are cinder block raised beds. We're going to be filling those little holes in the bricks with some compost, also give them some more grow space out here. So you'll see we're kind of emptying out the trailer as we speak, and because of the orientation of this property, the back of the house is going to have a little bit of shade almost all year long. So some of those gingers and Malanga taro understory type species are going to go up here around the house because they'll get dappled light pretty much all year long. Obviously in the winter it's going to be much more shady as that that sun drops down in the hemisphere. So like I said, the back of this property is north face. The front of this property is south face. We always want to look at the orientation as we're laying out the landscape. So, typically speaking, we're planting these trees pretty dense. None of these trees are actually going to get to that possible size that they could, reach. So, all of my taller trees that are going to be evergreen, that are going to be pruned in more of that 15-foot range, are going to be over here towards the north end. And as we get towards the south, we have our deciduous fruit trees, are things that that go dormant in the wintertime. So the mulberry, the peach, some of those type items are going to be here at the entry. In the wintertime they're going to be leafless, so the sun's going to get in past that to the things more on the north end. We're also not planting anything tall over there in front of those cinder block beds. We don't want to shade those. They want to have annual production there long term. Those also will have some sweet potatoes I had mentioned yesterday. So you can see over here, starting to kind of build up a pile of plants. I've got a trailer full out front. I still got a couple of natives and ground covers to get, but I'm gonna get this thing back on for y'all, show you the layout, talk about the spacing a little bit. Obviously this isn't going to be the same for every single property, but hopefully y'all can get something of this, something to take home, and something that I'm going to point out one more time. And I tend to repeat myself, but I did this yesterday. I brought up, we just put these banana pits in. These definitely are not like a true banana pit. It's we'll call it the banana pit concept. We're using that concept of banana pit, but it's definitely imperfect. I'm standing here in between the house and the fence, and there might be 10 feet in this space, so this banana pit is definitely smaller than what it could be. It's not getting the amount of bananas that you could actually put in a banana pit. Only going to put 1 or 2, but what we're really trying to do is slow down that water and stop that overland flow, and stop that water from ending up down in that preserve. But what I had started this conversation talking about was really wanting to point out, these fruit trees. So if y'all look here, everything that we have planted already, like I said, was here already. You can see, and I hope that gives you that angle a little bit better, that we really have those planted above grade. We're going to be heavy mulching this, and we're going to be top dressing with organic amendments, so that will not be sticking out like that. We're not going to have a mountain. That's going to become a plateau. Anytime you can plant like this prior, it's going to make your life a little easier. You can mulch and then plant. It's just a lot of work. When you mulch and plant, you have to move all that mulch before you plant. It's double work. So by planting first, mulching, obviously I can't come in with a tractor and mulch. And in a situation where it was a bigger planting, half acre, something like that, I might come in with the tractor and mulch. This is very tight. There's not a lot of room here to get a machine into the backyard. So hold tight. We're going to lay these plants on. I'll turn it back on, tell you what else we're going to get done today. What's growing on? We started to kind of lay out some plants here, and I just wanted to walk you guys through a little bit. Just kind of have them sitting here on the surface, so we'll get those in the ground about 80% of the way, come through and top dress with any type of amendments and compost. I'll walk it through one more time right after we do that, right before we do that final step of the mulch. So kind of here on the east side of the property, and I'm getting ready to walk into the backyard. Y'all ready for this? Hold tight. So kind of walking into the backyard here on the east side, they wanted to have a grape arbor, so we still have to get that arbor picked up, but there's 2 different muscadine grapes there. We've got some lemongrass on either side. I have a regular red Suriname cherry, and there's lots of natives in the system, edibles, perennials, nitrogen fixers, and I'll kind of start to just point those out to you as we walk through. So there's some tropical sage here, perennial pentas, a fig, a Simpson stopper. We have some interspersed perennial peanut mimosa throughout the system. Over here on this side, that's that mulberry we relocated. So we brought the regular Suriname cherry in. We have Society garlic. There's 2 peaches, another Simpson stopper, a parlor hibiscus, some more of those perennial pentas. That's an avocado that we relocated. There's that star fruit that we relocated. And you can kind of see we laid this out into islands. There was no design done on this job. So turmeric, that's the true native firebush, spiraling ginger. Here's a bay rum. Once that gets planted, it's going to need some type of stake. There's a little jackfruit we're kind of guerrilla planting back here on the edge. A couple of pineapples. We are moving one of these bananas. So now I'm all the way back here in the north corner of the property. And this is where I had talked about, you can really see that slope coming down into the backyard and kind of coming out into this area. This is where we've kind of done some guerrilla planting. So here on the fence, that's that purple possum passion fruit. We've got different varieties of bananas. I believe there's a Canandarin, a Seminole. I forget what that other one is. Once I get down there, I think I'll be able, oh, Goldfinger, I see it now. These are native elderberry we've started to introduce to this wet area because this is where they would commonly grow. And then a couple other things that we have planted over here in this back area. I had mentioned, there's a bit of a gap here in the windbreak. So this is the north side of the property, and this would never shade the garden. So here's that kind of gap in the windbreak, we'll say, and we have clumping bamboo. So we have 3 graceful clumping bamboo planted about 10 foot on center. And this eventually will make a bit of a wall here, give them a trellis material from the garden, aesthetic appeal in the back, and then block off this corner, and eventually give more protection to that whole garden area up here behind it. And I think from down here, y'all could see that slope a little bit better. So we've kind of plucked a lot of these fruit trees that were out of these beds. We're going to be introducing a lot of annual vegetables here going into the winter time. Kind of an exciting one. I always like jobs where I don't have to come up with the design, and that tends to slow down the install. Anytime we have to come up with the design, that's an extra fee, that's extra time. So anytime that can be avoided and the homeowner or the client trusts me, that definitely makes my job that much easier. And while I'm on here talking about that, it seems like every time I mention something we're in need of or possibly looking for, if you're in this Tampa Bay area, you're into permaculture and you're a landscape architect and you're interested in working with Green Dreams, drop me a line. Drop me an email. I'd love to talk to you. Definitely looking to expand the company and bring some more people in that are like-minded. So a landscape architect is kind of that final step I need to really take things to the next level. So let's get back to the landscape here. Like I had mentioned, we were going to fill all of those cinder blocks with some soil. They were just empty. They're going to try some different veggies around the outside of these beds and also interplant the beds. So kind of turning back here up against the house. Up against the house, it's always going to be shady. So we have galangal up there. I have some of the false cardamom up here. We have some true ginger up here. We have some shampoo ginger up here. We have turmeric up here. So a lot of that, more shade tolerant planting is up against that back of the house, kind of getting a little protection underneath the eave. Along the very back of the house, there was blue plumbago, heather, crotons. Those are getting relocated to the front yard, and some of these, more edible species will be placed into this back bed. I even have a couple of cigar plants. These are great for bringing in hummingbirds. And you can see we've just started the planting over here. We've got 1 dwarf Namwa going in on this banana pit. There's another turmeric. There's the 2 Barbados cherries. Those will eventually grow into a trellis. We'll train them that way. I just stripped this Australian mulberry. This one was a little bit wilted from being transplanted. It's going to drop its leaves in the wintertime anyway, anyways. And that's something I'll point out. Like I had mentioned, we moved a lot of trees out of this back bed. And anytime you're doing transplanting like that and, disturbing the roots on a plant, you really want to take a good amount of the foliage off of there. There's definitely a ratio. I would say, up to 50% sometimes. We always take at least 30%. Just depends on the plant and how well they take transplant. The Barbados cherries definitely shock a little bit. I took probably 50% of that. That mulberry shocked. I didn't have to take anything off of the mango back there. There was no shock whatsoever. It took it really well. So up here in the center of the yard, we have a sugar apple, some blue porterweed around it, a couple of Simpson stoppers. This is a grafted loquat, some scorpion tail, perennial peanut, 2 red Turk's cap hibiscus. Those are wonderful edible flowers. some more perennial peanut, caliandra, and do notice some of these things are a little bit yellow for the time of year, going into fall, winter. Haven't given them any fertilizer right now. Kind of going back into this bed, we have some perennial peanut, more Simpson stopper, some of that tropical sage. And we're going down towards these perennial beds. That's that African potato mint, longevity spinach, moringa, cranberry hibiscus, Ceylon spinach. Here's the katuk. The katuk definitely likes shade a little better, so we left the space up there by the back of the house. We're going to take the 3 katuk out of these back beds and put them in a little cluster by the back of the house. So we've kind of created a really nice accessible pathway system. Really planted our plants into clusters or guilds, you'll say it. It might not all be a guild, but they're kind of planted in that guild-like fashion. So sweet almond, caliandra, peanut, got 2 figs. We chose putting these at the lower end of the property because they're the closest to the swamp back here. We're really hoping to get some nematode suppression by having them in this lower area, hoping the ground will be a little bit more moist, potentially keeping those nematodes away. So society garlic, scorpion tail, rose of Sharon, nitrogen fixer, wax myrtle. We've got a couple of wax myrtles. There's another one right here. And that's pretty much it. So we're going to get everything planted here. And then we will come through and we'll probably put, a shovelful or 2 of compost on the top of each plant, create a little bit of that plateau. I've got ash with me, I've got azomite with me, I've got organic fertilizer with me, I have worm castings with me, I have biochar with me. So, we're giving them all of those keys for better success, throughout this garden. Everything that's going to help it grow along that much better. So everything we've had success with, we try to give to our clients also. All right, it's 4 o'clock. Halloween, got to go home and take my little man to go get some of that stuff that gives you cavities, you know what I mean? Trade them out for some vegetables and some fruits when we get home. But no, we do really buy all the candy back from Gavin after Halloween, so try to save on that dental bill, but we let him get a few things. So we're finished here on this job. As far as the plants go, we maybe have about 10 or 12 stragglers on the outside of the fence and a couple things I just showed up with to put in, but doing the top dress, doing the fertilizer, getting out of here today, and I'll just give you guys a brief walkthrough, and tomorrow we'll be back to put in the mulch. So day 2, hold tight. It's that Barbados cherry, the other one showed up, it's in the ground now. Everything's got a top dress of compost on it. We're putting some of that sustain down. That's some turmerics. They were already starting to go dormant, so cut a couple of those leaves off. We'll just cover those with mulch, but everything is in. Got a fakahatchee grass that showed up this afternoon, still needs to go in the ground. A couple of piles of compost for some of these holes in these raised beds over here. But this project's coming along. I'll be calling it a wrap tomorrow. Bamboos still need to go in. Everything on the outside of the fence. But as you can see, it's coming together. We got to get these gingers in tomorrow. Couple of those hummingbird plants and everything's looking happy. You can see the butterflies are here working. But I'm liking the way this is flowing through. There's nice pathways, nice entrances. This heads out into the back. Oh, hey, what do you got there?
Some sustain.
Some of that sustain. I heard Curtis Stone uses that stuff. Uh-oh. He's got himself half a water jug there. That's custom. We don't sell those.
Work with what you got.
That's right. Found that in the garbage can, huh? There are those perennial pentas. All right, we're done. Coming back tomorrow, putting some mulch on this one, and it'll pretty much be a wrap by the end of the day tomorrow. I have a couple of mimosas we're waiting on, but otherwise, this one's done. So 3 days in and out. Food forest, nature delivered. So they had a couple of those things to bring in those, beneficial insects and butterflies before. And he said, actually when that stuff first showed up, it was, like nature delivered, like LoJack. The butterflies were coming instantly. It's like they knew that stuff was here. So we've added a lot of that diversity to what they already had. So it's only going to get better. They had a couple of hummingbirds before. Who knows how many they're going to have now. They might have 3 or 4 different species, but we'll be back in the morning. Going to get some mulch on this one. I'm going to take my little man trick-or-treating. Happy Halloween.